Harmonic Trader Education, Harmonic Trading Certified Webinar Series. Lesson: the ABCD pattern. ABCD pattern basics. The ABCD pattern is a 4-point price structure that is a minimum requirement for most harmonic pattern setups. The ABCD pattern is a structure comprised of two equidistant price segments that possess harmonic ratios. The exact completion point of the ABCD is the most important significant price level, while the BC projection complements the area. The C point will be a defining level for the completion of the pattern, establishing what is known as the reciprocal ratio. Origin of the ABCD pattern. The origin of the ABCD pattern is based in sine waves and cosine waves. Now, the essence of this lies in the fact that all matter is energy. Energy moves in waves. Now, Einstein knew this and cited this in his equation E equals mc squared. Although this is beyond the discussion that we need for the markets, it simply relates to the fact that a price chart exhibits the collective sum of trading behavior that manifests a frequency that can be plotted, measured, and differentiated. The ABCD pattern is a type of minimum energy wave in the markets, where each leg represents a component of one complete vibration. Sine wave. This illustration shows the simple sine wave within a single dimension. A sine wave simply is the frequency of a wave within that single dimension. Cosine wave. Cosine wave represents the phase shift of a sine wave. That is, multiple component waves that comprise a complete frequency. Cosine waves in the markets. The collective sum of buying and selling in the markets combine to produce a multi-component chartable frequency. This illustration shows a cosine wave through time. Now, it's not necessary to get caught up in the equations of calculating the various mathematical aspects of cosine and sine waves, simply to understand that all matter does move in energy waves. For the markets, these energy waves are exhibited through the basic cosine mathematical equation. Breaking this down, looking at a cosine wave through time, we see that the initial movement moves from one range to the other. Now, if we're looking at the markets, this could be a bullish channel where the price moves from one end of the range to the other. We know that markets do not go straight up or straight down. Rather, they move from one point, one high, to one low, and conversely. As this energy wave or price movement persists, we see that it moves within a defined range. Regardless of how far the trend may persist, this energy wave does fall within exact constraints. Now, looking at this cosine wave, or a basic cosine wave in this illustration, essentially one cosine wave represents an AB equals CD pattern. This cosine wave through time is the basic wave movement for all structures in the markets. ABCD reciprocal ratios. The reciprocal ratio is the C point retracement that determines the BC projection in the potential reversal zone. So if we're looking at an ABCD structure, we want to notice the C point and where that C point retracement falls. If you recall from our webinar on harmonic ratios, that various harmonic ratios possess reciprocal extensions. That is, a certain retracement will yield and end up having a certain extension that corresponds to provide proper symmetry. Starting with a 382 as our lowest number within the gamut of harmonic ratios, typically we're going to see BC projections of a 2.24 or 2.618. Sometimes this can be even greater, 3.14 or 3.618, but for our purposes, these ratios align the best. If we see a 50% C point retracement, typically our BC projection will be at a 2.0 or 200% move. A C point that has a 618 or 61.8% retracement will correspond with a BC projection at a 1.618, and so on. Bullish ABCD pattern. The bullish ABCD pattern is two equidistant price segments, a lightning bolt, if you will. It is the minimum structural consideration for any setup. The importance of the ABCD pattern completion point varies depending upon each structure. If it's talking about a crab versus a Gartley, this ABCD component may differ. Exact pattern completion point must possess the BC ratio within the same proximity. Now, bullish ABCD patterns are excellent continuation patterns within established trends. Also, alternate ABCD patterns do exist, and these are alternately calculated structures that vary from the equivalent version. Again, this depends upon the pattern structure that we're analyzing. Bullish AB equals CD pattern. This illustration shows the lightning bolt or equivalent bullish ABCD structure. If we look at the C point, depending upon where the C point retracement lies, this will dictate the extent and the type of BC extension that's usually employed. If we're referring back to our reciprocal ratio illustration, if our C point is at a 382, then our corresponding BC extension is going to be more extreme, usually a 2.24 or a 2.618. If it's a 618 at the C point, our BC extension is going to be a 1.618, and so on. Bullish AB equals CD pattern potential reversal zone. Ideally, in a bullish ABCD, we want to see that equivalent AB equals CD completion point be the lowest number in the harmonic support. The BC extension will typically complement this area. But our most important point is the exact price level where the AB equals CD leg. Looking at this chart of the euro-dollar on a 60-minute basis, the bullish ABCD pattern possessed a distinct symmetry and unique ratios that define the setup. If we're looking at the C point fell within very close to a 7/8 of the AB leg. This would set up our corresponding BC extension that would possess the reciprocal 1.27 BC measurement. In this chart, the AB equals CD exact completion point at 134.26 was the lowest level in the harmonic support. Looking at this chart of Google on a weekly, we see an almost exact AB equals CD pattern. Notice the symmetry. Ideally, we want to see time symmetry where each leg is equivalent in both price and time. Although the time component is not necessary, it does ensure symmetry. Also notice the C point. That fell very close to a 618 of the AB leg. This complemented the exact AB equals CD point, that is the 267.30 level, as the bottom range for the harmonic support. Again, for the ABCD pattern, this exact price level where the AB equals the CD leg is the most important number in the pattern completion. Looking at this price action of the potential reversal zone, notice how the price action declined sharply as it neared the completion point for the AB equals CD pattern. The two numbers, the 1618 equals at 294.47, and the exact AB equals CD level at 289, marked the low in the harmonic support for this weekly structure. It's important to notice how the price action stabilized within 2 or 3 price bars after testing the entire potential reversal zone. This gives us the early indication of a change in price action character. Looking at this chart of the 5-minute, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, we see another distinct bullish ABCD pattern. The C point in this case was close to a 50% retracement of the AB leg. That establishes a BC reciprocal ratio extension of a 2.0. In this illustration, this chart example, the exact point where the AB equal to CD leg completed at 93.06. Now, the 2.0 BC extension complemented this area to define a tight range for the harmonic support. On this 15-minute chart in the NASDAQ 100 continuous mini contract, we'll see another distinct lightning bolt AB equals CD pattern. In this case, the C point was at a 618 of the AB leg. This establishes our reciprocal 1.618 BC extension. The BC extension completed at 1354 if you will. The exact point where the AB equals the CD leg fell just underneath this. Looking at this chart of the price action in the potential reversal zone, we see how those two measurements came together to define precise harmonic support. The exact AB equals CD price level marked the lowest range of the potential reversal zone. This harmonic support was complemented by the 1618 BC extension. These two measurements defined the 1353.50 to 1354 area as your ideal completion point for the pattern. It's important to notice how the price action stabilized immediately after testing these numbers. Although the chart required some consolidation before the larger reversal ensued, the fact that the price action was able to stabilize immediately within this range was your early validation signal of a profitable trade in hand. On this 15-minute chart of the euro dollar versus the Canadian dollar, we see a really nice distinct bullish ABCD pattern. Again, the symmetry is quite precise. The C point was at a 786 of the AB leg. This established a BC extension that is the reciprocal of the 786, which is a 1.27 measurement. This complemented the exact AB equals CD level to define harmonic support in the 138.70 area. Looking at this chart of the price action in the potential reversal zone, we see the two numbers that define the harmonic support. Now, in this situation, the AB equals CD price level at 138.70 was slightly above the complementary 1.27 BC extension. Although this happens, and this is still a valid structure, we want to focus on the exact area where the AB equals CD completes, because that's always going to be the most important price level for any trade consideration. The BC extension, the 127 in this case, fell just below this area. But notice how the price action stabilized immediately after testing this entire zone. Bearish ABCD pattern. The bearish ABCD pattern is two equivalent price legs that possess harmonic ratios. Again, it's always important to look at the C point retracement of the AB leg to look to determine what is the best suitable BC extension to complement the equivalent completion for the pattern. Looking at this illustration of the bearish ABCD pattern potential reversal zone, ideally the bearish AB equals CD completion point will be the highest price level in the harmonic resistance. This will be complemented by the BC extension, and they'll typically be determined by the reciprocal ratio at the C point. Looking at this chart on a 15-minute basis, ExxonMobil possessed a distinct bearish AB equals CD pattern. It's interesting to note that the 786 was at the C point to find what the eventual BC extension would be. In this case, the 786 was almost an exact C point retracement of the AB leg. This established a 1.27 BC extension at 6143. The exact AB equals CD pattern completion point itself was at 6144. That was the highest price level in the harmonic resistance and most important price level at the pattern completion point. These two measurements converged almost exactly on top of each other in the 6143 to 6144 area. Looking at this chart of the price action in the potential reversal zone, notice how that price action stalled immediately after testing all the numbers in the zone. That's your initial validation factor, an initial signal that you have a profitable trade in hand. The highest number, the exact AB equals CD point, was the most important harmonic resistance level in the setup. On this 15-minute chart at Goldman Sachs, we have another distinct bearish AB equals CD pattern. In this case, the C point was almost a precise 707 retracement of the AB leg. The 707, a little lesser number within the harmonic ratios, but still validated the structure. That established a BC extension, which would be a 1.41 measurement. That is the reciprocal of the 707. In this case, the exact AB equals CD leg was completed at 147.28 and marked the top range of the harmonic resistance. Looking at this chart of the price action in the potential reversal zone, clearly these two numbers converge closely together to define precise harmonic resistance. Immediately after testing all the numbers in the potential reversal zone, the price action stalled, required a few bars to consolidate, but never exceeded that initial test, and then rolled over, reversed quickly thereafter. On this chart of the gold continuous futures contract, we see a really nice bearish AB equals CD structure on a 5-minute basis. Again, notice the C point. The C point was at a 707 of the AB leg. This established a 141 BC measurement as the best price level to complement the exact point where the AB equals CD leg completed. In this case, both of these numbers converged exactly in the same area at 1375.80 to define the ideal entry for the short. Looking at this chart of the price action in the potential reversal zone, on the first test that hit these numbers, the price action stalled. Now, the price action did require a secondary test, but the exact point where the reversal occurred was marked by the equivalent AB equals CD pattern. This is price action, and this type of structural signal must be respected, and for harmonic trading purposes is critical for most pattern setups. The basic AB equals CD pattern is usually the most important point in this number, but when we see two numbers, especially the BC extension, converge close or exactly at the same area as the AB equals CD, we have to consider that a very harmonic setup. On this daily chart, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, we see yet another distinct bearish AB equals CD pattern. In this case, the C point was at a 50% retracement of the AB leg. This set up our 2.0 BC extension. Again, this is another situation, but on a daily chart, where both measurements, the BC extension and the exact completion point for the AB equals CD pattern, completed at 14.050. The AB equals CD was at 14.057, while the 2.0 BC extension was at 14.051. You've got to remember that this is a daily chart, so for these two numbers to converge exactly in the same area, it defines a unique harmonic setup. Also, it's important to notice how the character of the price action changed immediately after completing this pattern. Looking at this chart of the price action in the potential reversal zone, it's important to notice that character of the stalling action at the harmonic resistance. Although it required a few days to consolidate before the larger reversal ensued, the fact that the price action could not continue higher, especially close above this area for any significant period of time, was quite significant. The two measurements, the AB equals CD and the 2.0 BC extension, marked the precise harmonic resistance for the short. On this chart of the euro-dollar on a 15-minute basis, again we have a very distinct structure. The time symmetry is quite ideal, almost exact. Most importantly though, look at the C point retracement. That's actually less than a 50% of the AB leg, but the 2.0 BC extension complemented that the best. This also marked the area and complemented where the AB equals CD leg completed exactly. These two numbers came together within a 10 pip range between 149.20 and 149.30 for the ideal harmonic resistance for the trade. Again, notice how the price action changed immediately after testing all of these numbers. Looking at this chart of the price action in the potential reversal zone, immediately after the equivalent AB equals CD price level was tested, the price action stalled. Although it required a few price bars of consolidation before rolling over, the fact that it could not continue significantly higher beyond that exact AB equals CD point is your early indication of a valid trade in hand. AB equals CD with a smaller AB equals CD pattern. When we're talking about multiple ABCD patterns, we're looking for large ABCD patterns that possess a smaller AB equals CD pattern within the BC leg. It's important to look for that smaller AB equals CD to complement the larger AB equals CD pattern. This is a concept that I initially outlined in my first book, The Harmonic Trader, released in 1998. In that book, I stated that the larger AB equals CD is always more critical and a definitive structural consideration at the pattern completion point. Ideally, both patterns should complete before executing a trade, but it's important to focus on the larger AB equals CD pattern and use the smaller structure within that larger BC leg to complement the entire zone. Looking at this illustration of the bullish AB equals CD with a smaller AB equals CD, we see a large A to B leg that possesses a C to D leg with yet another ABCD pattern inside of it. On this daily chart at Disney, we see a multiple ABCD structure. Although the larger AB equals CD pattern is more important, the smaller AB equals CD pattern within that larger leg complemented the area quite nicely. When multiple AB equals CD patterns converge like this, they define excellent support and resistance zones. In this case, the bullish AB equals CD pattern possessed 4 calculations that define the area between 19 and 20 as ideal harmonic support. Looking at this chart of the price action in the potential reversal zone, we see how the price action started to stall after testing the first smaller AB equals CD. However, the larger AB equals CD pattern is always more important. We want to wait for that larger pattern to complete before looking to execute at the smaller one. In this case, we'd want to wait until the lower range of support at around 19 was tested before considering a trade opportunity. On this chart of the euro dollar versus the New Zealand dollar, we see multiple ABCD patterns. It's important to notice how the smaller ABCD within the larger leg complemented the entire potential reversal zone. Looking at this chart of the price action in the potential reversal zone, this example is quite remarkable because he had 4 calculations that came together within a rather defined area. The larger AB equals CD pattern was quite significant. This marked the bottom range of the entire support zone. The smaller AB equals CD was complementary, but when all these numbers came together in a tight zone, and notice how the price action stabilized after testing this entire zone, these are significant signs of a valid trade opportunity in hand. Looking at this chart of Marvel Technology, we see a really nice multiple AB equals CD pattern. These 2 patterns possessed 4 numbers that marked a very tight area for harmonic support. Looking at this chart of the price action in the potential reversal zone, notice how the nature of the decline changed immediately after testing all of the numbers in the harmonic support. Although this required a few extra days of consolidation, the fact that the entire decline was able to stabilize and then reverse thereafter are your early indications of a valid trade in hand. Bearish AB equals CD with a smaller ABCD. Again, we're looking at a large ABCD pattern with a smaller AB equals CD in that large CD leg. On this daily chart of Alcoa, we see an excellent example of multiple ABCDs converging in the precise area to mark the harmonic resistance. Now, the larger ABCD is always more important, but in this case, the smaller ABCD pattern complemented that zone. These numbers came together to find a 1-point range for the short. Looking at the price action in the potential reversal zone, notice how the character of the price action changed immediately after testing all of the ABCD patterns. The larger ABCD marked the most important level in the harmonic resistance, but was complemented by that smaller ABCD, which pointed to a slightly higher reversal point. Although we want to focus on the larger of the 2 ABCDs, again, for harmonic trading purposes, we are focused on the importance of zones. In this case, these multiple patterns came together to define an ideal harmonic resistance zone. In this chart of the US dollar versus the Swiss franc, we see how multiple ABCDs came together to define intraday resistance. The larger AB equals CD pattern was more distinct, but it was complemented by a smaller ABCD in the larger CD leg. Looking at this chart of the US dollar with the price action in the potential reversal zone, it's important to notice that the price action reversed immediately after testing all these numbers on one single price bar. The price bar following this test began to stall and the reversal rolled over thereafter. Looking at this chart of soybeans, the continuous futures contract on a 60-minute basis, again, we have multiple ABCD patterns that converge very close together to define ideal harmonic resistance. The important thing to note is how the price action stalled immediately after testing all the numbers in the zone. This chart of the price action in the potential reversal zone shows how the reversal ensued after testing all of the numbers shortly thereafter. Although this price action required a secondary test before the larger reversal came together, the fact that the price action was able to stall immediately after testing all of these numbers is your early indication of substantial and valid harmonic resistance. Alternate AB equals CD patterns. The alternate AB equals CD calculation, as it relates to patterns, is a relatively new concept in technical analysis. In harmonic trading application, this structure was initially outlined in the harmonic trader. Alternate structures provide an effective means of complementing other significant Fibonacci calculations, especially when the equivalent AB equals CD is not relevant for a particular setup. It's important to remember this is not a singular structural trade signal. The alternate AB equals CD differentiates extension patterns such as the crab and the butterfly. But the AB equals CD is not as critical as a structural signal as the equivalent pattern is. The alternate bullish AB equals CD pattern is shown on the following illustration. Now, it involves the A to B segment calculated by either a 1.27 or a 1.618. This measurement is projected down from the C point to determine the extended completion of the alternate AB equals CD. Looking at this example of the Australian dollar on a 15-minute basis, we have what looks like an equivalent AB equals CD structure. However, the CD leg is extended. The CD leg is 1.27 of the AB leg. On this chart of PetSmart on the daily basis, we have another extended AB equals CD structure. Now in this case, the AB leg is multiplied by 1.618, projected down from the C point to arrive at the completion for the alternate 1.618 AB equals CD. Alternate bearish AB equals CD pattern. Again, this is another extended type AB equals CD structure that utilizes the AB segment, multiplies it by either 1.27 or 1.618 to arrive at the completion point for the alternate AB equals CD structure. On this chart of Qualcomm on the daily basis, we see we have an initial A to B segment. This A to B segment is multiplied by 1.27, projected up from the C point to arrive at our 1.27 AB equals CD. Just remember, this is going to be an extended AB equals CD structure, but it's always based on the initial segment A to B. On this chart of level 3 communications, we have another alternate 1.618 bearish AB equals CD pattern. In this case, the A to B segment is multiplied by 1.618 to arrive at the extended 1.618 AB equals CD pattern. The perfect AB equals CD pattern. The pattern rules for the perfect structure were initially released in Harmonic Trading the Financial Markets Volume 1. It involves a precise 618 C point retracement of the AB leg. The perfect structure employs a 1.618 BC projection. Also, it's important to possess equivalent time duration for each leg. Now, this ensures that the structure should have distinct symmetry. It's the most ideally symmetrical structure of all harmonic patterns. The AB equals CD completion point is the most important price level in the potential reversal zone and should complete close to the 1.618 BC projection. the perfect bullish AB equals CD pattern. Again, this should be a distinctly symmetrical structure with a C point at a 618 retracement followed by a BC extension of 1.618, converging exactly at the equivalent AB equals CD completion point. On this chart of the NASDAQ 100 mini contract, we have a very symmetrical, perfect bullish AB equals CD pattern. This possessed the 1618 BC extension that complemented the equivalent AB equals CD completion point. On this daily chart of the British pound versus the US dollar, we have another distinct AB equals CD pattern. This possessed a 1618 BC extension with our equivalent AB equals CD completion point, which marked the exact low for the move. Looking at this chart of the price action in the potential reversal zone, notice the importance of the 1618 BC extension complementing the exact AB equals CD equivalent pattern completion. This was the exact low for that move. And notice how the price action changed immediately after testing all these numbers in the zone. Perfect bearish AB equals CD pattern. This is an equivalent and symmetrical structure that possesses a C point at a 618 and a BC extension of a 1.618. On this daily chart of Franklin Resources, we see a very distinct and symmetrical structure where the time duration for each leg was almost exact and possessed an AB equals CD equivalent point that was complemented by a 1.618 BC extension. Looking at the price action in the potential reversal zone, we see how the BC extension converged at the AB equals CD point to mark the harmonic resistance. Immediately after testing all the numbers in the zone, the price action began to roll over and the reversal ensued within 2 days after this was complete. On this chart of Intel on a 15-minute basis, we have a very symmetrical structure. Although on the day that the stock opened and completed the pattern, the reversal stopped immediately at the AB equals CD equivalent point. This was complemented by the 1.618 BC extension. Both these numbers define the area just under $20 as distinct harmonic resistance. Also notice the time symmetry for the structure. It was almost exact, where the amount of time required for the A to B leg was almost the same as the C to D leg. Looking at the price action in the potential reversal zone, clearly on the day that the stock opened and gapped up, it stopped immediately after testing the equivalent AB equals CD point. This happens frequently in harmonic trading, but if we know what to look for, we know how to capitalize on these opportunities. AB equals CD pattern summary. The minimum AB equals CD completion, where each price leg is equivalent, is the basic structural pattern within the harmonic trading methodology. The ABCD pattern is the most basic complete wave structure with its origin in the cosine nature of energy. Remember, we're looking at energy waves. We're looking at wave movements. And wave movements in the markets are manifested through price history. So we can analyze this basic type of AB equals CD pattern, apply measurement strategies to capitalize on where these flexion points will occur. The BC projection can vary from a 1.13 to as much as a 3.618, but it depends upon the C point retracement to establish the reciprocal ratio. Alternate AB equals CD patterns do exist, but certain pattern situations depend upon the structure itself. One of the overestimations of this AB equals CD pattern is that it's not the end-all be-all price structure. That is, it's not that every AB equals CD pattern is going to yield a trade opportunity, but it's important to recognize the mandatory minimum nature that this component possesses for all patterns. The structure should possess other Fibonacci retracements and projections, that is, other harmonic measurements, to complement the completion point of the pattern to define a trade. But the importance of the AB equals CD structure within all harmonic patterns really depends upon the situation. It is a minimum mandatory requirement for most harmonic trades. But it's important to know that we don't want to try to trade every AB equals CD. As we get into the other webinars that feature more complex pattern structures, you'll begin to recognize how the AB equals CD is a mandatory minimum signal, while other measurements must exist to confirm what the basic pattern is telling us.